Hey guys, here I have in front of me is the old Toshiba Satellite 4015 CDT, which a while back we did a video of reinstalling Windows 98 using the factory settings with the Toshiba restoration disk. So this time we're going to use this computer to talk about some advantages and disadvantages of what it's like owning a vintage computer in general. If like being into vintage computers, what it's like, the advantages and disadvantages of the pretty much basically talk about little everyday, some of the challenges what you got to deal with when it comes to owning these vintage computers and maintaining them. So with this Toshiba, well, I've been having this Toshiba for quite a while. If you've been an OG follower of my channel, especially from my old YouTube channel that I've had, you may notice on this computer you may notice that there's some slight yellowing in the LCD panel, and even though there's a few spots where it's kind of slightly warm, where it's kind of dark in some areas, but you could probably see it in person. And I believe this is like even though this is possibly a passive matrix display, even though it's got the Chips and Technologies video driver. Even though the screen on this computer is showing its age, of course. As you may notice with the keyboard on this one, I can go up, down. If I try to go left, I can go left. If I try to go right, the right button doesn't work. Let's see, page up, page down, end. Because I noticed some of the keys on this side don't work no more, unfortunately. Which you could use, which wouldn't be nothing if you're able to hook up an external keyboard. But wanting to use an actual keyboard and having all that big mess of a keyboard and a external mouse, to kind of have just to use a clean setup. The only downside of owning one of these vintage computers is like having the trouble to find the actual parts. With most of the parts being discontinued or finding an eBay listing of one that has parts of one that's you could buy just for the parts. That could be in like possibly bad shape, that you can, if you're lucky to find one with a working keyboard and some other miscellaneous parts. Like on this one, it's missing the little door for the PCM CIA slot, which sadly broke off. And the thing is, the plastic on these can get a bit brittle due to its age. Excuse me though. Another downside with it's like owning one, especially one of these vintage Toshibas, is finding a replacement CMOS battery, which is like a proprietary design. Which you can't go. It's not like on some computers where you can just pop the motherboard and take out the little coin cell battery. The way how they got these little CMOS batteries is, it's got like a little wire attached, and you gotta have like special soldering skills. And I've seen some people take them out, and the thing is, you gotta like make sure you have a good motherboard that's not leaking capacitors, and you gotta be able to willing to throw in money if you wanted to have one that's in good shape, Especially if you make you want a good, especially if you want to make a good one. Even though with this one, the CD-ROM drive works fine because I was able to upgrade the Windows 98 first edition to second edition using the SE upgrade disk, the 98S, and install the security updates from the Windows Security Updates February 2004 disk that also includes the highest version of Internet Explorer and Windows Media Player, which works, in my opinion, a lot better than using that unofficial service pack. One of the best advantages is being able to use the best advantages of owning one of these old computers is being able to use a computer with real hardware and be able to have that great MIDI experience. So for instance, let's say we're going to open up passport.mid, if I could find it. Being able to hear that great FM synthesis or whatever sound card of your choosing. Which this laptop actually has great FM synthesis. Because it's one of the advantages of owning these old, like using actual hardware is better than using half the time the emulated hardware that you in a virtual machine, though, that because most of them virtual machines you have to go through the challenge of finding drivers and going through a lot of roadblocks in particular. So let's say you want to be able to run your favorite old games, of course. Like you can even run like certain programs that you can't run in modern versions of Windows. So yeah, because when you own vintage computers, being into vintage computers, you may notice a difference when it's like using physical hardware and emulated hardware, comparing the two. Because with VMware, it's kind of a tricky that sometimes it's very tricky to you got to modify a .vmx file to use if you want to use Sound Blaster 16 in Windows 95 or Windows 3.1 in particular, or Windows 98 First Edition, instead of using the WDM the Sound Blaster 128 WDM driver. Because you kind of get what I'm talking about, though. So just wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope you find this video kind of useful. And I'll have more to come, so I don't want to be too long, and thanks for watching.